Monday, Tampa Bay, the Bucks got it done again. Two's not a streak, but it's close. The Buccaneers get the first ever win in Germany as they down the Seahawks 21-16. It was a good win, right? I think that for me, that was the most important part, is that it was a good, solid win for this Tampa Bay Buccaneers team. Apparently we're streaming late. We got a significant delay here. So welcome. I'll do this all over again. Good morning. Guten Morgen to everybody who's still celebrating a victory Monday with the Buccaneers win over the Seattle Seahawks. And I'm telling you, it was a solid win. That was what we wanted to see. Is I was tired of seeing like squeak by wins. And I know all wins count, right? I know that every win counts, but I also do know that like at some point you expect a powerhouse team like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers to really just clamp down and get it together. And yesterday was as close as we've seen this entire season in my mind. Great defensive effort all around. Rashad White got it done on the ground. Tom Brady and Mike Evans connected well. So we'll dive into that. You know, some of the games that we saw on Sunday as well. How about that Vikings and Bills game? Man. Yeah, the two Wildcats, Jay in the chat says. Yeah. We might not even talk about that. I do want to know who called that play though. Because I've got my suspicions about who called that play. And I really think that Tom Brady might have called that play. Just to be like, yeah, I could do it. And then, yeah, got absolutely trounced. But I mean, outside of that, look, it was a solid win. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Bills and Vikings. Arguably, that's got to be one of the better games off the top of my head. That's got to be one of the better games that I've seen in probably the last, 5 years or so, at the very minimum. I mean, the last 2 minutes were more entertaining than all of the highlight plays we had from yesterday combined. You know, unfortunately for the Bills, they came out on the losing end. And it's weird because I'm still not entirely sold on the Minnesota Vikings. I think that might be part of the issue, is that I'm not entirely sold on Minnesota. I don't know if it's Kirk Cousins, even though I know Kirk Cousins is a top. Look, statistically every year, I've said this, I can't tell you how many times on multiple shows, on multiple podcasts, that Kirk Cousins statistically almost every single season is a top 6 quarterback in the NFL, which is partly part of the reason why he gets paid so much, is because he's a good quarterback. The internet narrative would tell you that he's not, but he actually is a good quarterback. But just a fantastic game. The Lightning got the W yesterday. Tom, like, anything you can do, I can do better. the Caps score 5 on Friday to beat the Lightning. Lightning score 6 yesterday to beat the Caps. And Patty Maroon does not like the Capitals. He's thrown the gloves in back-to-back games with the Capitals, and I love it. We need some sort of enforcer. We need an enforcing player that's not going to let our guys just get pushed around. You know, we saw Stammer throwing dropping the gloves and throwing haymakers in the at the end of the Rangers. I think it was game 6 maybe of the Rangers series last season. And I mean, it was just, it was awesome to see. Maybe it wasn't. I think it might have been game 2 when they went down 0-2 to try and like fire up the team. But regardless, like, the Lightning don't necessarily have like a bruiser. They don't really have somebody that's going to drop the gloves and somebody that's going to beat your face in if you take cheap shots and, you know, you knock Cal Foot out, right? Like, we don't necessarily have that. Don't get pushed around, but there's nobody that's really going to enforce and be like, yeah, don't do that, right? Like, there's not that guy. And I've always thought that that's kind of what they were missing. So we'll kind of jump into that. The Magic are welcoming the Charlotte Hornets tonight to the O. Hornets are on an 8-game losing streak. Paolo Banchero still technically listed as day-to-day, but they've been getting it done without Banchero. As surprising as that sounds, they've been getting it done without Paulo Banchero, kind of playing cleaned up basketball. Um, it's almost like they know that like their superstar is not there, but a good player is there, or is we're all good players, but our superstar is missing, and nobody really wants to like fully take the reins. That's like my vision of it. It's my vision of how things are going. But let's jump in. We'll take it right from the top. 22 carries, 105 yards for Rachaad White. Of course, Leonard Fournette goes down. I have a hard time. Look, I know Fournette had a good game while he was there. He had 14 carries for 57 yards. Look, I honestly, but I don't know if Leonard Fournette breaks that century mark like Rachaad White does. If Fournette takes the bulk of the carries. And I honestly think that the game plan is still to have Rachaad White increasing and getting more snaps. I still think that is part of the game plan is to insert Rachaad White into the offense more. You're watching a Seattle Seahawks team who was solid against the run. Allowed 161 yards. Right? We saw a Buccaneers team that was essentially a brick wall the first 3 weeks of the season. They were essentially a brick wall. Then they started allowing 140 plus yards. They only gave up 39 on the ground yesterday to Kenneth Walker and Geno Smith combined. Kenneth Walker had 10 carries for 17 yards. They could not get anything done on the ground. Devin White had 2 sacks. Joe Tryon-Shoyinka had a sack. They had 3 total on the day. 6 quarterback hits. Dare I say that Akeem Hicks is the reason why that rushing defensive unit has come back into fold. You can't tell me that he doesn't have some sort of presence. I mean, we're watching it happen, right? Akeem Hicks, what's the one thing that the Buccaneers have done great on defense these last 2 weeks? Stop the run. Who's played these last 2 weeks? Akeem Hicks. Who played the first 3 weeks? Akeem Hicks. Who didn't play in between that? Akeem Hicks. It's got to be easy. That's the common denominator when it comes to this. He's absolutely the reason why this team has kind of reemerged on the defensive side of the ball in terms of being able to stop the run. 44 carries yesterday for the Bucs to 14 for the Seahawks. Geno Smith still put together a pretty decent day. He had 115.1 passer rating, which is higher than Brady. Brady had a 111.0. 2 touchdowns on the day and a pick, of course, for Brady. But he was 22 of 29. Dude, 22 of 29 for Tom Brady's not bad. And some of my take homes, right? Like when we're watching and you go, okay, well, Mike Evans is catching like 50% or less of his targets. Like at some point they've got to get on the same page, right? They have to get on the same page at some point because that's your wide receiver 1, right? This is a top 10 wide receiver in the NFL. Like you've got to figure this out. Caught 5 of 6 yesterday for 54 yards. 54 yards, kind of a dud. 5 of 6, absolutely beautiful. I'm absolutely completely content with Mike Evans catching 5 of 6 targets. I don't care, 54 yards, whatever. You get what you get. I just need Mike Evans to start catching the ball. Get back on the same page as Tom Brady. And for everything that we saw yesterday, it looks like they are. You can't tell. You can't catch 5 of your 6 targets and still not be on the same page. Julio, 3 of 5. Chris Godwin, 6 of 8. I mean, everything was working yesterday. Right? Everything was working for the Buccaneers yesterday. Except when Tom... I don't even want to talk about it. Except when Tom Brady got lit up on the Leonard Fournette interception. That one didn't work so well, did it? But I'll tell you what, it's a fantastic highlight play. It really, I mean, we still got the win. That's all that matters, right, guys? Like that's all that matters. Yeah, that wasn't pretty. Not at all. I'm not mad. I just got a comment on Twitter. I'm not mad about DK Metcalf. I mean, he had 6 receptions. I mean, 6 for 71. There's nothing special about that, right? Like there's nothing special to me anyway. There's nothing special about a 6 for 71 yard game, right? I mean, because if you're telling me that that's special, Chris Godwin literally had 6 receptions for 71 yards. Do you want it? Was that a special game or was that just a regular game? Right? Like it's identical. Yeah, he got the touchdown, but you remove that touchdown and he's got 6 receptions on 8 targets for 71 yards. What did DK Metcalf have? 6 receptions on 9 targets for 71 yards. Nothing. I mean, if we're gonna talk about DK Metcalf having a great game, like first of all, he's a freak of nature, right? Like you can't jam DK Metcalf at the line. You're just gonna get bowled over. So you have to give him a cushion. Right? Like, do you want him to beat you after the catch? Or do you want him to just dismantle you at the line of scrimmage and blow by you there? I don't know. Not a special game at all. So I think we're putting way too much stock into it, and we're trying to look for things to pick apart. And what was it, a pretty game? No, but the Buccaneers, for everything that I saw from the game, obviously I hosted Channelside Bets yesterday morning, filling in for Evan, who's out on vacation. So I didn't get to watch the entire game, but everything that I saw, not bad. I mean, not bad. Tom Brady almost had 400. Thomas Brady. Geez. I mean, we're going to go government name here. Tom Brady almost had 400 passing attempts without an interception. Got to 399. Like, that's kind of frustrating. That to me, that's frustrating. But I mean, that doesn't affect, right? Like that doesn't have any sort of effect. Yeah, I mean, Julio still has the juice. 3 for 50, 3 for 53, average of 17.7. I mean, outside of Marquise Goodwin, who literally tried out for the Olympic team, he's so fast. Outside of that, Julio Jones had the biggest average yards per reception of the day. Closest on the Bucs was Scotty Miller at 12.5. And Scotty Miller's supposed to be our burner. But we have to remember that Julio Jones was the fastest clocked wide receiver in pads for the Buccaneers during training camp. We have to remember that. We absolutely 100% must remember that that Julio Jones, not Scotty Miller, is the fastest wide receiver on this team. Ripe old Julio Jones. If Julio Jones was a banana, he would be ready to make banana bread with it. That's how old he is. That's how beat up his body is. But he's still got it. He broke the ice, got his first touchdown of the season. This is what we're looking for. Honestly, I do expect, if Julio can stay healthy and stay on the field, I expect Julio Jones not going to rack up a lot of yards, not going to rack up a lot of receptions, but I think a lot of his receptions are going to be red zone targets, and he's going to get a lot of touchdowns for this team. I still think that. That's why you bring in a guy like Julio Jones. It's just icing on the cake at this point that Julio Jones is the fastest wide receiver you have on the team. Chris Godwin might be the fastest, but he's like, you can tell that Godwin is still a little timid. You can tell that he's not fully back to speed yet. And I think that it's, by his own doing, which is, I mean, it is what it is at the end of the day, right? Like if Chris Godwin is not fully comfortable, if he's not fully comfortable, I think that that's a mental thing. But you know what? That's fine because if you're going to catch 6 for 71 and a score, I'm cool with that. I'm totally cool with that. Because if Julio is going to do what he did, which isn't, look, outside of the touchdown, Julio didn't do like anything crazy, right? But 3 for 53 is nothing to ignore. That's a great day at the office for Julio Jones. That's essentially the stat line. 353 and 1. That's essentially the stat line that Julio Jones was brought here for. You're not looking for anything more. You don't expect more from Julio Jones at this stage in his career. 353 and 1 is perfect. Anything more is better. Right? Jay in the chat. Everyone's hating on Julio, but I'm betting come December and January, everybody's going to love it. I 100% agree with you. Julio Jones has been stealing our money. I mean, if you partially tear a ligament in your knee, I mean, you're not going to play. I don't care who you are. Right? If you partially tear MCL or PCL, if you partially tear anything in your knee, you're not going to play. It doesn't matter if you're making $1,000 a second or you're working in the concession stand. You're not going to play if you've got torn ligaments in your knee. Period. You know, people wanted to clown on me when I said Julio Jones was going to get 8 touchdowns this season. I think that was my number. I don't even remember the number. It was such a long time ago. And to be fair, Julio hasn't played because of that injury, so it's not even a thing that I'm going to have to look that back up. I want to say I thought he was going to get 8 or 9 scores this year, and I think that that's still a possibility. That's 100% a possibility. If he stays healthy on the field, looked great yesterday. They got a bye week now, so anything that could be nagging, you've got the extra week now. I don't see any reason why we can't expect that, right? I don't see any reason why we can't expect that. One thing that I do remember very, very vividly, on a Hot Take Friday, live on the Channelside in the morning show, I remember very vividly saying that by the end of the season, Rachaad White was going to be the starting running back for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. What we've seen thus far this season from Leonard Fournette, combined with getting banged up yesterday, and adding to the fact that Rachaad White was a stud yesterday with 105 yards on 22 carries, I think it's safe to say that we're going to see Rachaad White taking over the RB1 role for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And for those people who called me a Rachaad White truther, whatever, I'll get to you guys in a second. We've seen the film of Rachaad White at ASU. We know what he can do. We know that Tom Brady loves a running back that can catch passes out of the backfield. This is right up his alley. Oh, and by the way, do you know who didn't even catch a pass out of the backfield yesterday? Rachaad White. Wasn't even targeted because he was ripping the Seahawks' ass so bad on the ground that it didn't matter. They didn't need to check it down. Keyshawn Vaughn caught 1 of 1 targets. Leonard Fournette caught 1 of 1 target. You didn't need Rachaad White in the passing game. You average 4.8 yards per game or per attempt. Come on, man. I said this months, August, July, June? I don't even remember when exactly I said this. but it was months ago. Rachaad White is going to take over the starting running back role by the end of the season. Now, I tried to say it cordially and say not because Leonard Fournette is not a good running back, because this season, Leonard Fournette's not a good running back. If you don't believe that, when this show ends, go back and watch the video titled Leonard Fournette is doing nothing with the football on our YouTube channel. So when I said that Rachaad White was going to take over the running back one role, people called me a Rachaad White truther. Hey, I don't know what that means, for starters. A truther is somebody who is a fan of a player that's not good. Thinking that Kyle Trask is going to be the Buccaneers starting quarterback next year would make you a Kyle Trask truther because Kyle Trask is not good. We knew Rachaad White was good. We knew he was going to pan out. You just needed to see it in action. And thankfully, because Leonard Fournette is not playing well this season, we're seeing more Rachaad White. Now, all of a sudden, after yesterday, though, everybody's a fan of Rachaad White now, right? There's no more truthers anymore. Everybody's a fan of Rachaad White. Everybody, oh, see, I told you. Rachaad White, man. Rachaad White's the man. I should start retweeting some of your comments from way back when and screenshotting your Facebook comments and your YouTube chat comments telling me that I don't know what I'm talking about because Rachaad White's not going to pan out and we've got Leonard Fournette and we don't need Rachaad White and he's expendable and so is Keyshawn Vaughn because Lenny. Leonard Fournette, worst running back out of the RB1 group that I've already pulled. Leonard Fournette, lowest graded running back. Leonard Fournette, league worst yards per attempt. League worst yards after contact. League worst broken tackles. Etc. Yes, I made that into 2 syllables. That's how stupid I think that is. I mean, like, guys, we gotta call a spade, right? Like, look, I don't get it. This is what makes sports fun, right? Is when you're getting to debate with other people, right? But sometimes you get those people that just like blindly debate. Oh, we paid Leonard Fournette a lot of money. He's going to start forever. Why? He's complaining about his lack of carries when he's not getting a lack of carries. Like, why are we? What? Like, I don't get that. Right? Leonard Fournette, as it stands, after week 10, Leonard Fournette on this team, and you can quote me on this, Leonard Fournette on this Buccaneers team, coming out of week 10, is completely expendable. He's expendable. There's no need to carry Leonard Fournette's contract next season. There's not. You've got Keyshawn Vaughn, very solid running back, very inexpensive running back. You've got Rachaad White, probably going to be your starting running back to close out the season because he is that much better than Leonard Fournette is performing this season. Notice I keep saying this season because we do know that Leonard Fournette has it in him. Maybe he doesn't anymore, but he definitely does not this season. And there's people have bad seasons, right? People have down years. But it's Rachaad White's job for the taking. This is why when you do running back by committees, if one guy's not performing, he's in trouble. And guess what the Buccaneers have been doing lately? Because Leonard Fournette's been underperforming, having a running back by committee. And it's been working. The running game by committee has been working for the Buccaneers. And it's been very favorable to Rachaad White more so than Leonard Fournette. It is what I mean. It is what it is. You can call me a hater. I don't like. Sure, Lenny ran well yesterday, but this is the first time in how many weeks that Leonard Fournette ran well. This is the first time in for the majority of the season that Leonard Fournette looked good on the ground. And you know why he looks good on the ground? Because the Seahawks couldn't stop the ball on the ground. Our offensive line is still not run blocking that well. Right? Like this is the thing is if you watch and I talk about this a lot because it is very relevant. It's a relevant stat. Yards before contact, you can't control as a running back. You can't control your yards before contact, especially when you're getting hit in the backfield. You can't control that. What you can control is broken tackles, yards after contact, and missed tackles forced. You can control those three things. And if you are last in all three of those things, you're either underperforming, you have a lack of effort, or you're not nearly as good as we all thought you were. I don't think it's the latter, right? I don't think that it's Leonard Fournette not as good as we thought he was, but I think that it's Leonard Fournette wanting a big payday, seeing what they have in Rachaad White, getting that big payday, and then saying, I mean, I can kind of phone it home. I can kind of, I can phone it in here. I'll act like I'm upset with my carries, but I got my payday. I'm a top 10 paid running back in the NFL. I mean, that's if you remove some of the stupid contracts like Ezekiel Elliott, who signed like a 37-year deal at $15 million a year because Jerry Jones is an absolute moron, and you remove some of those stupid contracts, Leonard Fournette's top 6 in terms of what he's getting paid. You can't ask for much better if you're a running back in this league, because we know that the tread on running back hires is very small. It's very light, and most running backs don't last in their prime anyway for more than 5-6 seasons. Why do you think Kareem Hunt is expendable now in Cleveland? He's getting up there. Nick Chubb is hitting his prime. And and Kareem Hunt is kind of expendable now. It's kind of the same thing in Tampa, right? Like when Nick Chubb was drafted, the Cleveland Browns did not have Kareem Hunt on that team. The Browns went after Kareem Hunt and signed him after he was released from the Kansas City Chiefs as an insurance policy in the event that Nick Chubb did not pan out. You got a guy who was a top 3 running back who happened to be released because he decided that he was going to sweet chin music some chick on camera. It's kind of similar along the lines here in Tampa. You sign Leonard Fournette in the event that Rachaad White does not live up to his draft positional expectations. And he has, and he's exceeding them. That makes Leonard Fournette expendable. That's how the business side of football works. I don't care about your fantasy team. You look at I might lose to a guy who has 3 players out this week. I don't care about my fantasy team right now either. But that's how the business side of football works, guys. As Denzel Washington said in Remember the Titans, the best player will play. Rachaad White is the better player. End of story. Cade Otton might be your starting tight end for the remainder of the season here. Talk about a guy who's coming on well. I mean, good Lord. Cade Otton, 3 targets, 3 catches, 35 yards. If you look at his, excuse me, Cade Otton has had at least 1 reception in every game he's played. He had 3 receptions against the Seahawks, 5 against the Rams, 2 against the Ravens, 4 against the Panthers, 2 against the Steelers, 6 against the Falcons, 3 against the Chiefs, and 1 against the New Orleans Saints. 26 receptions on 35 targets. Not a bad way to start your career if you are a rookie. Not a bad way to start your career if you're a rookie. And he's done everything. Which now ties me to the we need Gronk back morons. And yes, if you're saying we need Gronk back, you fall under that umbrella labeled as morons. They don't need Gronk back. What purpose does Rob Gronkowski have on this team? What purpose does he have? You're not going to sit here. You're not going to tell me that, oh, all of a sudden, Tom Brady's going to start throwing a hell of a lot of touchdown passes because Gronk is back. Or now what? Leonard Fournette is going to they're going to pay all this money to bring Gronk back so he can block for Leonard Fournette and try to help him earn his paycheck? Come on, man. There's no reason at all for Rob Gronkowski to come back. If he comes back, it's because he comes back. He's coming back to have fun. He's not coming back to he's not coming back because he's a necessity for this team. He's coming back because it's Gronk. He's going to put asses in seats. He's going to sell a few jerseys for Christmas, right? Like that's the reason why Rob Gronkowski comes back if he does. But they don't need him at all. Cade Otton is doing just fine. Cameron Brate, obviously he's been injured, but Cameron Brate, just fine. Tom Brady's passing game, just fine. He's got the lowest touchdown to interception ratio in the entire NFL. He's doing just fine. You don't need Gronk back. Somebody needs to tell me a viable reason why the Buccaneers need Rob Gronkowski back. Outside of you just being a fan of Gronk. Give me a viable, we need Rob Gronkowski back because of blank. I want to hear it because I haven't heard any actual reason other than we need Gronk. We need Gronk. For what? What do we need Gronk for? What is he going to help? How much are we going to pay him? How much cap space do you think we actually have? He's not coming back. And if, like I said, if he happens to come back, it's going to be to make another Super Bowl run, sign late in the season, right before the playoffs, get on the postseason roster, and that'll be it. But you don't need Rob Gronkowski back on your team. That's just like everybody saying, well, we got to sign Odell. We have to sign Odell Beckham. We need him. For what? What do we need Odell for? Love Odell Beckham Jr. Possibly a future Hall of Fame wide receiver. But what do we need OBJ for? We've got Julio Jones. We've got Chris Godwin. We've got Mike Evans. We've got a young group of talented tight ends. Like, what do we need these players for? This is not Madden. This is not your fantasy team. We don't need these guys just because they're a name. I want to invite some of you into my fantasy league next year so I can just offer you name players that are underperformed. I could offer you Leonard Fournette. And in return, probably get Josh Allen, right? Like, because you value names so much. And you don't need the name. Is the name cool to say? Oh, yeah, we got Gronk back. Yeah, we've got OBJ. Sure, it's great to say. It's great to say that. But you don't need it. Jay in the chat says, well, you could say the relationship Gronk and Brady have on the field. Yeah, we could say that for sure, but what is that? What does that help? And I know why you're saying that comment, because I'm asking people to like come up with a valid reason, right? But like there's no valid reason why we need to spend this money. Right? Like there's no reason to spend this money on Gronk. There's just not. If they haven't signed anybody to address the offensive line that they should have addressed before the season started, they're not going to sign. They're not going to go after somebody, right? Like there's no real reason for them to go after anybody unless it's a favor, quote unquote, to Tom Brady to bring in his buddy. But to say that we need him is a ridiculously stupid statement. And we'll end it on that part. That's just a stupid statement. And besides, exactly what Jay just said in the YouTube chat channel. OBJ is probably going to be a Bill. I mean, he did nothing but retweet Buffalo Bills stuff all week. Von Miller has been preaching that OBJ's coming. And Buffalo is in a better position to contend for a Super Bowl than the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are. You know, there was once a time where OBJ was linked to the Bucs when he was doing his due diligence and doing his rounds and going and meeting with people. And he came down here and he met with the Bucs. That was kind of the extent of it. Probably said, hey, is there a possibility? Jason Light probably said, not really. Fantastic wide receiver. But where do you fit him in? Who do you move down the line to fit in Odell Beckham Jr.? Who do you move down the line? You move Julio Jones down the line for what? Julio's shown us what he can do. You can't move Julio Jones down the line. It's a strange dynamic. We're gonna take a quick break. When we get back, we'll wrap up the NFL's Week 10 slate. Look at the Eagles and Commanders game tonight, and then kind of put a pin in today's episode as we talk about the Bolts and the Magic taking the court tonight. But we'll be right back. Take a good long listen to our friends over here from BetUS.
Listen up, sports fans. Your favorite sportsbook, BetUS.com, is back for our 28th year of NFL action. With the industry's biggest sign-up bonus of up to 200%, BetUS offers our members the opportunity to cash in on all your favorite sports, including NFL, NBA, MLB, and more. We've also got hundreds of new casino games, including the coolest new European slots, and our live dealers are waiting for you at the table. Sign up at BetUS.com today to get into the action. BetUS, where the game begins.
We are back. Have any of you gone to BetUS.com and used the promo code Channelside yet and won some money? That's what I want to hear. Go to BetUS.com, sign up a new account, use the promo code Channelside. They're going to hook you up with a 125% deposit bonus. We can't use... Look, our core audience is all based here in Tampa, based in Orlando, some Southwest Florida, etc. We can't use DraftKings. We can't go to the Hard Rock to bet on sports. We can't use FanDuel or Barstool or any of these apps and BetMGM. We can't use this. Head on over to BetUS.com. They've been trusted for nearly 3 decades online. Tell them Channelside sent you. Get a 125% deposit bonus. Can't really ask for that much more. You can't. And if you are, then then you're just being greedy at that point. Uh how about the Detroit Lions coming back? First time the Detroit Lions have come back from a fourth quarter deficit of 14 points or more and won the game since Halloween 1993. That's right. I was not even a Florida resident the last time the Detroit Lions accomplished that. It was a long time ago, guys. I think Jay in the chat might have still been in his 40s or so. Something along those lines. But crazy. Crazy to see that Dan Campbell gets his first road win as a head coach. 1-11-1 on the road. Not great. Not a great start, but when you've got players that buy into a system, Amon-Ra St. Brown was on absolute fire yesterday. Eventually DeAndre Swift will get it going. And then, the Lions have won 2 in a row as well. The Bucs have won 2 in a row. The Lions, you're not quite at streak to me. I use the NBA Jam method. 2, you're heating up. 3, you're on fire. 3 is the streak. That's the way I look at it. The Giants, 7-2 on the season. They handled the Houston Texans 24-16. Thought that was going to be a little bit closer than it was. But they handled them. Dolphins, obviously, the Dolphins do what the Dolphins do, 39-17 over the Cleveland Browns. I think the Dolphins are still one of the most underrated teams in the NFL. I think people are underrating the Dolphins just because they spent so much time hating on Tua the last 2 seasons that at least they're staying honest, right? That's the way that I look at it, is at least you're staying honest and you're staying true to your nonsensical hate for Tua Tagovailoa. We already talked about the Buffalo Bills and Minnesota Vikings game. What can you say that hasn't already been said about how fantastic this game was? The last 2 minutes alone, 4th and 18, Justin Jefferson with that ridiculous Odell Beckham Jr. style catch, but ripping it out of a defender's hand on the way down as well. Absolutely insane. Driving all the way down to the half-yard line. And then the Buffalo Bills defense stops him on the half-yard line. Turnover on downs. It looks like Buffalo's got the dub. Looks like the Buffalo Bills are going to win. Oh my God, a fumbled snap. A bad snap off Josh Allen's hands, recovered in the end zone by Aaron Hendricks. And you could have asked for a crazier end to the game. And then Buffalo drives all the way back down the field, down by 3. No timeouts. Gets a field goal, ties it up, goes to overtime. Absolutely, what a instant classic of a game. Kansas City got it done 27-17 over Jacksonville. Jacksonville's a team that I've been saying for a while, all right, I expect them at some point, they're just going to get it, right? At some point, they're just going to, it's going to click, but I'm still waiting for that it's going to click moment. And I don't know when that's actually going to happen. Tennessee improves to 6-3 with a 17-10 win over the Denver Broncos. Derrick Henry, quiet day, 19 carries. Normally, if you see Derrick Henry with 19 carries, you're expecting a 1 in front of that 53 yards, but Denver's defense held up very well, and they were able to slow him down. We already talked about the Giants improving to 7-2. The NFC East division, man, I'm telling you. It's a powerful division. And it's even more crazy because you've got a 7-2 team who's second place in that division. Just think about that for a moment. That's to me, that's absolutely insane. The Steelers got it done at home. Look, I always assume that the Steelers are going to get it done at home, especially coming off of a bye. Until Mike Tomlin is gone, I can't bet against the Steelers. I can't bet against the Steelers at home. The Colts with the upset win over the Las Vegas Raiders, 4-5-1 Indianapolis Colts now 25-20. Look, I said this on Twitter yesterday. The Raiders to me are the most disappointing team in the NFL. Sometimes you can interchange it with the Broncos, but in the grand scheme of things, the Raiders to me are the most disappointing because they already had everything in place last season. The Broncos last season, Vic Fangio, he's out. But they also needed a quarterback because Teddy Bridgewater wasn't the guy. They went out, they traded for Russell Wilson. Vic Fangio's not gone. The defense kind of regressed just a little bit. The Broncos defense is still solid, but they've regressed a little bit, right? The Raiders went out, kept the same team, didn't give Rich Bisaccia even a shred of confidence about being re-signed as the head coach, even if it was a 1-year deal, just to give it a prove-it deal. After all the off-field nonsense, all the garbage that team put up with last season, they made the playoffs. They go out, they get the best receiver in football, in Devontae Adams. And they're now sitting 2-7. This is a team that should have been 7-2. And I'm going to tell you, if Rich Bisaccia is the head coach, I do not see any reason to not believe that this team would be 7-2 rather than 2-7 because Josh McDaniels was their guy and he can't do anything. I got to move on because the Raiders are not my team. I'm not a Raiders fan, but as a football fan, it's just extremely stupidly frustrating. Packers win at home in OT, 31-28 over the Dallas Cowboys. Packers get their 4th win. The Lions held on to second place in the NFC North for a little while. CeeDee Lamb, 11 receptions for $150 and 2 scores. Aaron Jones, 138 on the ground. But Aaron Rodgers laying the wood on that block, lowering the shoulder, flexing the muscles afterwards. I mean, Aaron Rodgers was feeling it. You know, maybe that's kind of what they needed. Allen Lazard had a very quiet game. Christian Watson had a Randy Moss style day. 3 receptions, 3 touchdowns. Like, it was an impressive win for the Green Bay Packers, and that might be what that team needed. That might be all that the Packers needed was to get over that losing streak and say, okay, guys, we can do it. We can handle it. In one of the most boring games, I didn't even consider watching this game. 27-17 Arizona over the Los Angeles Rams. No Matthew Stafford, no Kyler Murray, no interest. I mean, that's how it was for me. James Conner, 21 carries, 69 yards, 2 tutties. DeAndre Hopkins was Colt McCoy's sole focus, which, I mean, it's DeAndre Hopkins, so you can't necessarily blame him for that. But no Zach Ertz, no Cooper Kupp. Goodbye to a lot of your fantasy teams this week because you did not have Stafford or Kyler Murray. And then, of course, Sunday Night Football, San Francisco gets it done over the Chargers. They improved to 5-4 with a 22-16 win. Again, no George Kittle. Elijah Mitchell came back, 18 carries on 89 yards. What I think is what's a little strange is that Elijah Mitchell, you make this trade for Christian McCaffrey, right? Christian McCaffrey had 14 carries. Elijah Mitchell had 18 coming off of IR. Great game in that sense, right? For him, but Christian McCaffrey showed us a lot to where we were all kind of assuming Christian McCaffrey is going to be the lead back for the remainder of the season, and that wasn't the case. Now I know 38 yards on 14 carries when you're averaging 2.7 per carry is not great at all. But that's just an interesting dynamic. But that just shows that, maybe we've got the Carolina Panthers of old kind of two-headed monster when they had D'Angelo Williams and Jonathan Stewart there. I mean, it's entirely possible. Never know. The Magic take the court tonight against the 8-game losing streak of the Charlotte Hornets. Paulo Banchero still listed as day-to-day. Mo Wagner is still out. Markelle Fultz is still out, although he said that he is not feeling any pain. His MRI said that it was fully healed, but the team doctor said it wasn't healed to their liking. So he's going to continue to trek forward, and hopefully that next MRI clears any doubts, and then he's going to get the green light, as he told. I mean, that's really all that you can ask for, as he told Colby Price of the Orlando Sentinel. Like, that's all that you can really hope for, is getting it back, right? Like, I don't know any other way. How about just getting it done though without Paulo Banchero? It's so impressive to watch this team get it done without Paulo Banchero. You know, you assumed that, hey, he's gonna, like, he leaves, they're gonna be in trouble, right? Like, it's such a weird dynamic, but it's great. To me, like, I find it absolutely fantastic that they're winning without Banchero. Because if you can win without your superstar, more power to you. Right? Now, I do hope that ankle heals quicker, sooner rather than later. Right? Because you don't want him to miss too much time. And then when he comes back, then you've got to figure out how to rebuild that chemistry and how to rebuild, the dynamics of that offense and the defense, and, just the rotations as a whole. They're already going to have issues with that when Markelle Fultz comes back. He's going to be foaming at the mouth to get out there and perform and play at a high level. LaMelo Ball is expected to play tonight. Part of the reason why the Hornets are on an 8-game losing streak, and thanks to Jeremy Brenner for the research for this over at Sports Illustrated, the Hornets are 28th. The Hornets are 28th in offense this season. Last year, they were a top 10 team. That's how much LaMelo Ball means to this team, right? Like, that's how much LaMelo Ball means to this team. And this is going to be his first game back. So we'll have to see. Obviously stay tuned to Channelside Sports on Twitter and all the socials. We'll keep you updated on Paulo Banchero. And just kind of figure out exactly, like, when he's going to, if he's going to play tonight. As of right now, I'm not looking at my Twitter stream. I'm not looking at the timeline right now, but as it is right now, he's not playing. One thing that I do want to talk about as well as we, the Magic only seem to beat playoff teams. I mean, they handled the Phoenix Suns. And it wasn't even difficult, 2-game. Like I said, for me, it's not a streak, but they've won back-to-back games. They've moved out of the cellar. They've moved up to third from the bottom. So they're in 13th in the East. I mean, but you're right behind the Nets, who are 6-8. You're behind the Bulls, 6-8. I mean, this is an easy. I don't want to say it's an easy, but you're so close to making a move and making some noise. If you can beat the Suns 114-97, and you can beat the Warriors, right? But you can't beat the Knicks. Like that, to me, that's I've kind of got an issue with that. This was the stretch. They've got 2 more games at home. They've got tonight against the Hornets, and they've got Wednesday against the Timberwolves. 2 more games at home. The Timberwolves don't really have anything figured out too well either. They're 6-8 right now. They don't play again until they come to Orlando. So you have the possibility of finishing this home stretch on a 4-game winning streak if you're the Magic, and improving the 6-9 before you hit the road and go to Chicago and then play 2 nights in Indiana. And then you've got the Sixers at home on Black Friday and Sunday, November 27th. You can end this making some noise. And that's what's intriguing for me when I watch this Orlando Magic team is It is coming together, right? Like I know we didn't obviously, this game happened Friday night. So if we're looking at if we're looking at the team stats, right? Did they win the turnover battle against the Suns? No, but here's what they did do. They only had 15 turnovers. It's the lowest turnovers they've had all season. They had 50 points in the paint. They're destroying teams in the paint. The Suns only led by 2 points. The Magic, their biggest lead was 21 points. They shot 86.7% from the charity stripe, 45.5% from three. They're doing everything right. 50-38 on the glass. This Magic team is putting it together in all of the right places. And that to me, that's what's impressive. They're still the fourth best team shooting. They're the fifth best rebounding team in the NBA. These are stats that matter. They're cleaning up. They're getting better. They're making that extra pass. I'm gonna harp on that until we see that assist number go up and that turnover number continue to plummet. I'm gonna continue to harp on that. But we're seeing them improve in both of those areas as well. Oh, and by the way, there's been no Paolo Banchero for the last 2 games, and they've won back-to-back games. Now you put in Paolo Banchero, there you go. Now you got your superstar back. Here you are. It's very intriguing to see this Magic team, because look, how many people really gave them any shot against the Phoenix Suns? Like, let's be honest here. The Phoenix Suns allowing a league the lowest points to be scored per game, at that time had the highest point differential per game. Nobody gave them a chance. Oh, they don't have Paolo Banchero. Yeah, there's no chance that the Magic win. But here we are, back-to-back wins for the Orlando Magic, welcoming in the Charlotte Hornets, who are on an 8-game skid. That's a streak, right? Can the Magic start streaking tonight? I think that the Magic can. I think they can streak, and they can get this win and win their 3rd straight in a row. I mean, it's not anything that's it's not an unreasonable and unattainable thing for them to beat the Charlotte Hornets, even with LaMelo Ball. Right? We know LaMelo's a great player, but they can do it. Lightning bump up to 3rd place following their win yesterday. Pat Maroon dropping the gloves. Back-to-back glove drops for Patty Maroon. Big Rig does not like the Capitals, and neither do we. And I love watching him throw hands, because we need that. We need somebody that's going to do that. The Boston Bruins have won 4 straight. They've got 28 points. The Lightning have 17. So we're happy with the 17 points, but good Lord, the Boston Bruins are just on an absolute tear right now. And I'm not a big fan of how the Bruins are playing so well right now. Excuse me. Sergachev has 2 goals last night and 2 assists, 4 points for the defenseman, 29 shifts. 29 shifts for Sergachev. Absolutely insane. The Lightning have the Dallas Stars tomorrow at home, 7 p.m. puck drop. Dallas is pretty decent. They're 5-3-1 away. Obviously, we play well at home. Emily is hard to play in. Cooch leads the team still, 23 points. Jason Robertson is 23 points. We'll talk about that tomorrow. We'll have Henry come on. We'll preview the game. And that's going to wrap it up for us on this Victory Monday. No matter which team you're looking at out here in Tampa, Victory Monday. Enjoy your Monday. Hopefully, if you're like me, you can, and you're hanging on for dear life in your fantasy league, hopefully you've got somebody playing tonight and they do well for you, unless it's Miles Sanders or Dallas Goedert, because I'm playing against them. Have a great Monday. I am Danny. Look for us on the Channelside Sports Network, on all the social media on all of them, literally all of them. Just search Channelside. See a little blue check mark, whatever you want to do. I'm Danny. That's going to do it for us, and I will catch you down the road tomorrow.